Okay, continuing on with setup. Now, what I've done here is I've got my servo wires all tied up back here. Right now, my gyro is unplugged, and I've got my tail servo is unplugged too. And then what I've did back here is I've got the linkage installed, and I've got it installed on the servo horn. And because you can't move, because it's a small helicopter, the pitch slider doesn't move very much, I've got the ball on the servo horn here installed as close as I can to the center. But what it is when I get my tail servo centered, I don't want to have to mess with trying to get this linkage installed afterwards. So that's why I have it assembled right now. And I'll show you what I mean here in a second. So what I'm going to do is just show you the basic setup with the eSky radio. And then in another video, I'm going to show you how to set it up with a Spektrum system. Spektrum radio. But what I'm going to do now is I want to plug my tail servo into the spot on the gyro, or on the receiver, where the gyro would plug. Now in this, it's channel 4. Get that plugged in there. Alright, and real quickly I'll just run through what the connections are for me. Now the bottom one, this is channel 1. This is my aileron servo. That's this one. Number 2 on here is my elevator servo. That's the back one. Number 3 is my speed controller. Number 4 would be the gyro. And number 5 would be the gyro remote wire. And then you would normally plug your tail servo into the gyro. And then channel 6 would be my pitch servo, which is the top one, which faces that way. Those are just my connections. But like I said, I'm going to plug the tail servo directly into spot 4. And now what I'm going to do is, and the reason I'm doing this, I'll just tell you why. Because when you have the gyro plugged in and you have the servo plugged in the gyro, anytime the helicopter moves, the servo is going to move. And what I need to do is I need to find, get the servo to center itself so that I can get my servo arm positioned on there. And I can only accurately do that when the servo is plugged into the receiver. Anytime it's going to be plugged into the gyro, it's always going to be affected by the gyro, and I'm not going to be able to get the servo arm right where I want it. So, I'm going to do my radio system here. I'll make sure this trim tab, this one, and this one are in the middle. I want throttle trim tab at the bottom, and just go ahead and put these two trim tabs in the middle, or these two little knobs in the middle. Turn this on. And now I'm going to connect up. Now, one other thing, the motor's still unplugged, so I don't have to worry about anything spinning up on me. Now, if you remember, I'm using a Turnigy gyro, which is the same thing as a Telebi gyro. And one thing I discovered is these newer gyros don't work very good with these eSky radio systems. The reason being, the eSky radio systems, when you plug them in, it takes them a couple minutes to fully connect. These gyros need instant connection. So that's why I'm going to be showing about how to do this on a Spektrum system, because it works fine with the Spektrum receiver. But like I said, and actually if you have the FM transmitter set, it works fine. But the 2.4 gigahertz set, it doesn't really work with it. So, but I've got another gyro to use with this radio system that I'm going to use on another helicopter here in a little bit. So I'm going to stop rambling. Okay, so now I've got the helicopter's powered on. Now what I want to do is I want to put the helicopter idle up, and I want to position the throttle stick right in the middle. Get that right there, and that's where I'm just going to leave it. So now I want to get my servo arms on there. I want to get them positioned and try to get them as close to level as possible. And with this radio system, you can't really adjust too much on it, so sometimes you won't be able to get the arms perfectly straight, but just try to get them as straight as you can. And again, this is where I said I can get my tail servo to center and stay centered. What I'm going to do is just position this on here and try to get that. Yeah, cool. There's that. It's pretty close to 90. And over here, now I've already got that one on. I did that earlier, but cool. So now pretty much all my servo arms are 90 degrees. I'm going to just put these two screws back in here. But then what I'm going to do, after I get the screws in there, is I'm going to connect my linkages to the servo arms, and then I'm going to see how level my swash plate is and what links I have to adjust, if any. Okay, the swash plate guide's installed, and I've got my servo links connected to my swash plate. So now what I wanted to do is I wanted to look at it and make sure that my swash plate is level both this way and this way. So again, radio system's on, it's an idle up mid stick, and looking at this, seems this link is just like one turn too high. The rest of them look fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this off and turn this down. And these are the little line pliers for the Align T-Rex 250. These things work great, because these small links can be a pain sometimes. So those are nice to have. I'm going to turn that down one turn. And then that should put me right where I want to. Now also I still have my tail servo plugged into the receiver. And what I did was, at this point in time, I wanted to move the tail servo up or down the boom, because these mounts are still loose, so I can get zero pitch on my tail blades, and then I'll be adjusting this a little bit later, but for now this is just where I want to put it. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to unplug it from the receiver and plug it into the gyro. Now in these servos, or these gyros, you got the yellow wire at the top. That's also where the white wire goes. You want the white wire up, same way with the yellow wire. Plug this in there, and I'm just going to reach this around. I'm going to wire this up, connect the wires a little bit better here in a second. Now, I'm just going to plug this into the receiver right now, and there's a reason for this. The reason being that this gyro doesn't like the 2.4 gigahertz eSky system is, watch. Okay, when you plug it in, watch how long it takes this to initialize. It's thinking about it, thinking about it, thinking about it. Still thinking about it. Now it's initialized. The gyro needs to know right away that the receiver is functioning properly. And because this takes so long to initialize, this can't initialize properly. Now, this is only a problem with the eSky 2.4 gigahertz radio systems. FM systems work fine. So what I'm going to do, though, is now I'm going to plug in my gyro. Alright, gyro's plugged in. I am just going to leave it sit while the gyro initializes. See, now the gyro's initialized. And you can see. Alright. Now, one of the things I want to do real quick, I just want to make sure I've got my tail servo moving in the right direction. So the tail servo, the pitch slider, should do the opposite thing that my stick does. And it is. Okay, one of the first things I need to do after getting the gyro connected is, on the front of the gyro, there is a little dial called ATV. This is a travel adjustment for this tail servo. And what I had done before I had connected this, I had turned it almost all the way down. And what it is it limits the amount of servo travel you have. And with this helicopter, like I said, it's a small helicopter, so the pitch slider doesn't move very much. So the tail servo doesn't move very much. So after again, like I said, before I connected, I had already turned it down. So then after having it connected up, what I did was I adjusted it so that when I go full left and full right, I get no binding. It doesn't try to overdrive the servo or anything like that. So, but again, I've made sure swash plate is level. Whoops, put it back at mid stick here. Alright. Okay, so I know my swash plate's level.